Good afternoon, everybody. Wow, everybody got quiet. That was great. Everybody here okay back in the back? What a great sound system. My name is Dave Hardy, and to my left here is my friend and colleague, Mark Bucco. We're here, of course, on behalf of the governor. I am the Secretary of Revenue for the state of West Virginia, and Mark is my deputy. And between the two of us, we've got about 65 years experience in government budgeting. Those of you that don't know me, which would be almost everybody here since I'm not from here, I was a Kanawha County Commissioner for 16 years. And I saw Dennis Jarvis back there from Smithers, West Virginia, who I used to deal with when I was a Kanawha County Commissioner. And I was a Charleston City Councilman for 6 years. So when I walk in here and I see a firehouse at fire station like this, I get all fired up because I love it. We had 27 volunteer fire departments in Kanawha County, and we had 5 paid fire departments. And I learned so much. But one thing I learned and I really understood was how important it is to have government at the local level. We always made sure that when you called 911, you knew they were coming with the state-of-the-art equipment, well-trained personnel, and when something went wrong, personnel that had us backing them up with good workers' comp protection and things of that nature. So I am very happy to be here today. It is beautiful, and I'm just thrilled to be here. Moving on, let me talk to you for a minute about the governor. In January of 2017, the governor asked me if I would be Secretary of Revenue, and I was, of course, honored to do that. Our job is very simple at the Capitol. Our job is to know the numbers. That's what we do. That's all we do. We don't do politics. We do numbers. And the governor and I sat down. He was sworn in on January 16th, and the next day was January 17th. And we started looking at our financial reports. And the first report we saw was handed to us by our budget director. It said, I thought, wow, red ink. I'm not used to seeing red ink on these reports. And the report showed that we were, for the fiscal year that we were halfway through at that time, West Virginia was $217 million in the red. I could feel myself getting nervous. I thought, oh, what have I done? You know, we're in trouble here the day I show up. Then the budget director said, oh, don't worry, I got the next report. So he handed me the fiscal year 18 report, which would have been the next fiscal year. And that report showed that we were going to be $497 million more in the red. So I added those numbers up with my old East Bank High School mathematics that I learned in the 10th grade in 1973. And I said, we are over $700 million underwater the day we got there. Now, I'm going to fast forward for you to this year, June 30th, 2022. West Virginia closed its books, fiscal year 22, and we looked at the numbers and we could not believe what we saw. And all year we've been doing well, all year long. But West Virginia just ended fiscal year 22 with a $1,308 million surplus under the leadership of Governor Justice, who's hiding in the back there. He's coming here in a minute. Our revenues grew in 1 year, 22%. I mean, that just doesn't happen. So we went from $700 million in the hole to 5 years later, $1.3 billion on the up. $2 billion difference in our financial situation. And from that comes great opportunity. And the opportunity that we're here to talk about today, and then we'll talk about Amendment 2 as well, is a goal that our governor has set for us. And that's to eliminate the state income tax in West Virginia. You heard that right. Eliminate the state income tax. Let me tell you about the state income tax. There's 50 states in the United States, of course. There are 9 that do not have a state income tax. Most of those states you're familiar with, and that you travel to probably on vacation. Florida, of course, Tennessee, Texas, Nevada, Wyoming, South Dakota, Alaska. And guess what? Those 9 states in the last 10 years have grown twice as fast as the other 41 states. Their economies have grown 56% faster than the other 41 states. So you can sort of look at the data and you sort of get an idea, whoa, states that don't have an income tax are the future. They're growing. They're bringing in all sorts of opportunity, including young people. And let's talk about young people. The pandemic came. Who would have ever seen that coming? Now that we've seen the pandemic, we've got the legacies of the pandemic. And one of the biggest legacies of the pandemic is the advent of widespread telework. Telework is not the future, it's now. All over America, and our young people love telework. They just love it because they've been around computers their whole lives. And what the studies show is that states that don't have an income tax attract teleworkers. Why wouldn't they? If I were over in Maryland and I could move to West Virginia, because I'm going to work out of my house either way, and I have to pay Maryland income tax or come to West Virginia and pay no income tax, why would I not want to live in West Virginia? So we have a 6.5% income tax in West Virginia. The high rate starts at $60,000. And our governor in July, 3 months ago, made a proposal in front of the West Virginia legislature to eliminate the first 10% of the state income tax. Begin cutting it out and phasing it out. Take out 10% right now. Cut your taxes in this year, 2022, by 10%, your state taxes. That number is very large. That number would have put in your pocket $271 million. That's how big the state income tax is. A 10% cut sends $270 million back to your pocket. The legislature, under the leadership of people like Finance Chairman Eric Householder, said, heck yeah, we'll vote for that. And in one day, the West Virginia House of Delegates voted to approve that. And we said, this is great, we're going to cut this tax, we're going to do it right now. Our West Virginia State Senate would not even vote or put on the agenda the proposal to immediately cut the state income tax. And you say, why? That doesn't make sense. The reason being is this Amendment 2. Now that's the second part of my message. I want to make this clear. The people that run and manage and follow the state's finances, we think Amendment 2 is a train wreck. It will run West Virginia's finances right over a cliff. Let me tell you about Amendment 2. In 1932, 90 years ago, the West Virginia Constitution was amended to say, by a vote of the people, because all changes in the Constitution have to be approved by a vote of the people, to say that the property taxes that you pay, your real estate tax, your personal property tax on your cars and your vehicles, that money stays local. That is in the West Virginia Constitution. That means when you turn that dollar in, it's going to go to your school boards, it's going to go to your county governments, it's going to go to your city governments. That money does not leave Jefferson County. It doesn't go to Charleston. It is used to take care of your needs right here. That is in our state constitution, guaranteed, baked in. Amendment 2 says no, we're going to allow the legislature to decide what we're going to do with our property tax revenue. So your dollars are no longer going to be constitutionally guaranteed. You're going to let the West Virginia legislature have that revenue stream, all very large number, about $550 million. And you're going to ask the West Virginia legislature every year to pass a budget and give you your money back. Now think about that for a minute. 90 years, guaranteed. Now, every year, year in, year out, forevermore, you're going to have to ask the West Virginia legislature to budget the money and give it back to you. Send your money to Charleston, go to Charleston and hold your hat out and say, give us our money back. Well, that might not be so hard to do when times are good. Maybe it'll happen. But does anybody ever think that we're not going to have ups and downs in our state budget? 10 years ago, our state budget, it was so bad we had to go to the rainy day fund just to balance it. There's a lot of strain on the state budget. Things like PEIA, pension costs, pay raises for all the state employees. So now the county and city employees can compete with the state employees for pay raises. Medicaid, natural disasters. I could go on and on. I won't go on and on. But I'll ask you the question. Would you rather have a constitutionally guaranteed revenue source to support places like this, that we're standing in this beautiful facility, or would you rather send your money to Charleston and ask if we can have it back every single year forever? Never guaranteed. You have to ask for it back. Now people say Amendment 2 will do two things. It'll eliminate the property tax on your vehicle. Well, the governor's already has a plan, which I'll let him tell you about, on how to deal with that. But let me tell you this. Where's my pie charts? I think we're going to use them here in a minute. Oh, there they are. Under the governor's plan, 100% of the tax cut goes to you. 100%. $271 million in your pocket right now. Under Amendment 2, 2/3 of the dollars goes to large businesses and corporations. 1/3 goes to you, and that 1/3 is $140 million. Now let's think about this. $271 million income tax cut, immediate. $140 million if we get rid of the car tax. 2 to 1. 2 to 1 in favor of you. Now people say, well, let's help business. Let me show you this chart right here. Who hates business? Nobody. When I used to run for political office, I would say, I have yet to find a political candidate that's against jobs. If you can find one, let me know. All political candidates, all politicians are for jobs, right? But let me tell you what we've done here in West Virginia to help the business climate in the last 10 years. Let's just take a look. We have reduced the severance tax on steam coal to help the coal industry. We have eliminated the severance tax on timber. No more severance tax on timber, cut away. We have eliminated the business franchise tax. We have lowered the corporate net income tax. We have reduced the income tax on businesses that export products and services out of state. Not a bad thing. Those are West Virginia businesses. We have eliminated the corporate license tax. This one is something we ought to be doing victory laps on. We privatized workers' compensation, and for 18 straight years, West Virginia has reduced its workers' compensation tax, or workers' compensation rates, and that affects fire departments, just like this one. And by doing that, we have saved businesses $446 million in workers' comp premiums over the last 18 years. What else have we done? We've reduced unemployment taxes. We did that this year. This year, we reduced unemployment taxes for businesses. We created a new cabinet level position that the governor created for economic development, and we're having success in our economic development. We created a $600 million this year, 2022, a $600 million economic development fund to help West Virginia recruit more business. And we've implemented major legal reforms to create a more fair and impartial judicial system in West Virginia. So I don't want to hear, and we shouldn't hear, that if you oppose Amendment 2, you're against business. West Virginia is having all sorts of success right now attracting business. So a vote for Amendment 2 is a vote to send your money to Charleston. A vote against Amendment 2 is a vote to keep your money right here where it belongs. Your property tax money, keep it in the Constitution. The framers of our country were brilliant. And the framers said, if something's in the Constitution, it has to be changed by a vote of the people. Property taxes staying local is in the Constitution. There's a reason for that. Now, that being said, I've spoken enough and I've said enough. I want to introduce you to the gentleman that took West Virginia from $700 million down to $1.3 billion up in 5 years. The 36th governor of the state of West Virginia, the Honorable Jim Justice.
I didn't think you'd ever quit talking. Okay, first of all, thanks for having me. I think this is the third time that I've been here. Chief Fletcher, this is an incredible facility, and thank you so much for all that goes on right here, all the lives you save, all the hard work, all these great people have been back, and you may think, well, what in the world am I doing here? And I'm going to try to be quick and to the point and answer some of, if not all your questions if we can. And then I'm going to turn it in many ways over to you. Now, here's the deal. From the standpoint of negotiation and everything from what we've been doing in Charleston, you know, this is really not for me for any level of debate now at all. I'm not here to get in a food fight with anybody, especially, you know, members of our Senate or members of our Senate-to-be, or hopefuls of members of our Senate-to-be. But with all that being said, you have a situation that is getting ready to happen that is gravely important to you. And in all honesty, and I'm not taking anything away from you because you couldn't possibly know, you really, really don't understand. And all I'm here to do is to present to you facts as I see them, and maybe an understanding that you don't have today that maybe you'll have tomorrow. Now here's the deal. Today, for your services within this great county, within what I've said so many times, the Eastern Panhandle that knows how to run the plays. And oftentimes in Charleston, we need to copy your playbook because you've done incredibly well. Now, so with all that being said, here's what really you have at risk. And I always go back and I always give credit for credit's due to people that come up with ideas. But Coach Bobby Pruitt at Marshall, that coached forever, you know, Coach Pruitt called me up on the phone and he said, here's what you're dealing with. It's just as simple. And it's you give me your wallets and you give me all your money. And I'm a politician or a group of politicians in Charleston. Now, frankly, you can say what you want, but in many ways, Charleston doesn't hardly know you exist. And that's the way it's been forever and a day. Now, I'm not a believer in that. I know how great you are, how great you do, and how much we should try to replicate what you do. But in all honesty, you're a long ways from a lot of folks. And then Charleston can get running like a stampede in a direction, and like it or not like it, we've become this way to where members of a body, whether they be senators or they be House members, in many ways, especially senators, feel like they have an obligation to stay together as a bond. Doesn't matter what it is, we're just going to line up like a bunch of sheep and we're going to go right that way. Well, if leadership says this is the way we're going to go, we're all going to go that way. And at the end of the day, what's happened in this situation is leadership wouldn't even bring it to a vote. So we really never even got it to a vote. The situation was just as simple as just this. You got people that are out there that are hurting. $5 gas. You got people that go in the grocery stores and it's tough. And we've got surplus after surplus, and we surely to God above are Republicans, and I thought there's no way in the world we're going to turn our back on the people. Let's do a 10% tax cut right now. Now you've got a real stellar guy with you right now, and that's Chairman Householder. And he has really spoken up for you not only in a prudent way, but in a really intelligent way over and over and over. And in a minute, I want to ask you to come up and say a few words if you choose to do so. But with all of that being said, what did we do? We almost copied the plan that he had before. And that was to get us on a pathway of cutting our personal income tax. Do 10%. Do it right now. Just do it to where our people will be able to get some kind of instant relief. Now, all this other stuff is pie in the sky hope. If you pass Amendment 2, then we, as either a Senate body or a House body, go through different gyrations and everything. At some point in time, maybe you'll get rid of your car tax, of which I'll get to in just a second, that I'd be in favor of 1,000%. And maybe you'll get rid of the machinery and inventory tax, which is the big deal that they want to achieve. Now that's what this whole thing is all about. Everything is about the machinery and inventory tax. Your car tax is tied to it for one reason and one reason only. Period. One reason only. Buy your vote. Now, you may not like me saying that, but that's honest to God the only reason it's there. And they have even said that. Buy your vote. Now, I don't believe you're that silly, but at the end of the day, here's the whole deal. Charleston is a long ways away. Charleston can be the swamp. What do I mean by the swamp? I mean that at the end of the day, politicians are there and lobbyists with money are there because big corporations have hired them. The big corporations hire the lobbyists have the money and the perks and everything under the sun, and they go to the legislatures and basically try to buy their favor. Now that's the definition of the swamp. That's what goes on in Washington so much it drives us all completely crazy. Now that's the definition. At the end of the day, they promise things like, well, we got this for your campaign fund, oh, well, good. But I'd like to run for governor, or I'd like to run for whatever it may be, or I'd like to be the president of the Senate, or whatever it may be. Well, we'll support that effort. And we'll bring even more resources in to support that effort. And so then, politicians become wedded to a cause, to something that is maybe of no benefit to you, but it's of benefit to them. Now that's what the definition of the swamp is, and that's what I believe is going on right as we speak. Now, if you just stay with me just 1 second. Here's what can happen. The machinery and inventory tax is going to cost $500 million plus or dollars, whatever it may be. The getting rid of your property tax, your automobile tax is going to be about $140 million. You put the two together, you're a little bit north of $600 million. Now, what does that really mean? That means you're going to take $600 million out of the revenue of the state. Now, if we continue to have these unbelievable, wonderful times that we're having right now, severance tax off the chart and everything else on the side, if you believe that there'll never be a bump in the road, then go with it. But if you believe that, and I say it all the time, I've got some great oceanfront property in Kansas that I'll sell. Because at the end of the day, you best better believe that dupe happens, and it will happen. Absolutely, along the way, we're going to have bumps in the road. And at that point in time, go back to Bobby Pruitt. Here's what you're going to be. You give us as politicians, Charleston, all your money. And we as politicians are going to say one thing to you, we're going to promise we'll give it back. Now, if you believe that, you're a bunch of dumb bunnies. That's all there is to it. Because first and foremost, a lot of these politicians may not even be there. They may not get elected. Even if their intentions are the best, they may not get elected. You have a guaranteed income stream right now that ensures you in ways to protect the firemen, to protect the EMSs, protect the police, your schools, a lot of functions you got going on. If you absolutely jerk out of the budget $600 million, and it will grow. This is not like it's just $600 million. It's going to grow. It's going to grow with inflation or whatever it may be. What if you wake up and you don't have the money to give the money back? Now, let me tell you, and all I can do is tell you the truth. I've never really cared if you're a Democrat or a Republican or an independent. I've really never cared a lot. I have rock solid Republican values. I absolutely stand for life, Second Amendment, everything under the sun. I believe in business. I believe in all that stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm a real believer in West Virginia, and West Virginians, and Americans. And there's so many people on the outside that were throwing rocks at us, it was off the chart. And what I said was, for God's sake, let's quit throwing rocks at one another. And so from with all that being said, if we don't watch, and we spin around just a little bit and we have a bump in the road, you're going to be in real trouble. You're going to be right where we were when I walked in the door. Say it like it is, or whatever you want to do. When I walked in the door, in all honesty, now you may have not felt it right here, but when they handed me the books, I'm a business guy. Our state was as bankrupt could be. Period. I don't care what you say. Dead. And today we're just rocking. But it doesn't mean that tomorrow is going to be today, every day. Now, you may say, well, why are we trying to do this? Because there's two distinct points of what I'm trying to tell you. One is, if you give up all of your control to Charleston, you're crazy. If you do that, you're crazy, in my opinion. And you don't have to do that. And you're putting at risk this state and you and your county in a big way, and I don't think you know it. That's why I'm here. Now, I've said it a bunch of times, but it's just fact. With the way things are rolling right now, Jim Justice could just sit back, cut every ribbon, go to every dedication, and just cruise to the finish line and be the greatest governor of all time, and it'd be done. And you're going to get hammered. And that's not me. You see, and I really mean this, I really believe the good Lord above made me Jim Justice for a reason. And I believe he made you who you are, and every last one of you, for a reason. And lots of people may say over and over, well, Jim, why didn't you retire? Well, you see, I think, and as long as he gives me breath, I'm going to keep digging as hard as I can, because I think I owe him. I owe him. I don't care how hard I've worked. I've been blessed beyond belief, and I owe him. Now, I believe that. Whether you believe that or not, I believe that. So, to me, if you don't watch out, you could make a big-time mistake. Now, the second thing is just this. If we do the property, the machine and inventory, and we do the car stuff, and we would happen to do 10% of the income tax stuff, now we're approaching $1 billion plus. At that point in time, now you're taking that much revenue out of the system, and the likelihood of a real blow up is off the chart. Now, here's what I think. And you're not going to change me on this, no matter what you say, no matter what you do. I stand with the people. At the end of the day, our corporations all across this country, all across this state, are doing pretty damn good. And on top of all that, I know that we craft packages to bring people to the state of West Virginia, and those surpluses allow us to be able to do that. And if you take those away, we're not going to be able to do that. If you bet on a flat budget from now on, you're crazy. And all of a sudden, before anything turns around, you have a state that is not the state that we have going on right now. So, if you'll just look over my shoulder at one thing. You see, at the end of the day, I just said this a second ago, I stand with the people, right? You are hardworking, and you have made this dream happen. You have honored me beyond belief to give me the chance to be your governor. But you've made it happen. You've done it. My dad would have said you've done it. You have. Absolutely, and you deserve rewarded. Now, you can say what you want, but just listen to me on this. And I said this just a little while ago in Martinsburg, so please don't, if you heard it, just say, well, I know what that answer is. But if I were to say to you, who in this room benefits more from getting rid of the machinery and inventory tax than anybody here? Who benefits more than anybody here? It's me. Me. I'll promise you, it will mean millions to me. And I'm telling you, don't do it. Because I signed on to serve. I've never wanted anything. And I mean that. Absolutely, you don't have to do anything for me. You don't have to do any perks. You don't have to do any, campaign donations. You don't have to do anything for me. All you got to do is just be just what you are. The greatest West Virginians on the planet, and just keep doing it. Now, with all that being said, without any question in the world, and you got a brilliant mind right in the back, and you got a decent mind right here. And without any question, what we should do if we want to drive real growth to West Virginia, real opportunity to West Virginia, what we should do is get on a pathway tomorrow to get rid of our personal income tax. Now, last and my last almost. You say, well, what are we going to do about our car tax? Because that was hooked with this thing to get your vote. I would say $1 million trillion to one. I'm for getting rid of your car tax. I will promise you to God above, the very first bill that I would send up would be some crafting of some way to do a tax credit to get your car tax gone. To get that away from this discussion. Get it away. But right behind that, we need to switch the narrative. And switching the narrative means two things. Move getting rid of the personal income tax in front of everything. Move the personal income tax there. And secondly, for God's sakes, a living. You've got great people in the House and the Senate and everything that literally they thought that it was somewhat innocent or benign to do Amendment 2. It wasn't a bad thing. How could it be a bad thing? But it's turned into an absolute monster. Don't blame your delegates and your senators that voted for it that I think now would love to get away from it. Now, last and my last, it's just as simple as just this. You know, God knows there's a million things that I'd rather be doing than here with you like this. We have tried, Chairman Household and I have tried till we're blue-green to negotiate. There is no negotiation. And the reason there's no negotiation is they have to have all your money to pull this off. They got to have all your money. They don't want to do the 10% tax cut and give that back because then when they layer in their machinery and inventory tax and the car tax, now they're $1 billion, and it's a great, great, great big problem. I will promise you that they may not admit to this today, but I will promise you this is being discussed as we speak. You pass Amendment 2, and then we spin around 2 different times. We pass the machinery and inventory stuff. We give you your car tax back, and we raise the sales tax 2% to pay for it, and we give all that money to big corporations. Now, you don't understand how that could happen. $500 million here is going to big corporations. $140 million right now is coming to you. There is nothing here as an income tax cut. $500 million of this is going to Dow Chemical or Alpha or whomever it may be. Now, there's an argument that there's a small business here and there that may help, but my argument is one thing. West Virginia needs people. West Virginia needs growth. Absolutely, we're growing right here. Throughout many parts of West Virginia, we're not growing. In fact, the opposite is true. West Virginia needs people. Absolutely, if you believe that you get rid of the machinery and inventory tax, what's going to happen is we're going to go out here and level a spot, and then somebody will come. Well, they may come here, but that is betting on a hope. Your personal income tax is a dead lock. It's a lock to bring more opportunity here and to put money in your pockets. We're going dead the opposite. And I don't think you know it. And that's why I'm here. For no reason other than that. I don't need any kudos. I don't need anything. For God's sakes, living, I've got a lot of things I'd rather be doing. No, not really, than being here. Because I mean it when I tell you I love you. I really do. And I mean it when I tell you you honor me beyond belief. And see, my last words are just this. I want us to be Tennessee, or I want us to be Florida. Do you realize if you just close your eyes and just think just a second and open them back up and think, I would have never believed it possible. 2 years ago, I would have said, yeah, let's get rid of the machinery and inventory tax. Let's do anything to bring people here. I never would have believed on the planet that you could have really gotten rid of your income tax in West Virginia. I would have never believed that all these businesses, my gosh, from Berkshire Hathaway to, Nucor to Green Power to on and on, everybody, Pure Watercraft, all of them. They just keep coming and coming and coming and coming, and nobody, and listen, I am dead this way. Now, you can really get me all riled up quick. I can turn into the town redneck. But I positively promise you, I'm going to tell you the truth. Now, I'll make mistakes, but I'm going to tell you the truth. Nobody, and I underline nobody, has come to me and said, we'll bring our business to West Virginia, Governor, if you'll get rid of the machinery and inventory tax. So why on God's earth are we doing it? We're doing it because people are taking campaign dollars and whatever because they're wedded to it. And you don't know it. And now you're going to place all your faith in Charleston to always be there for you. They're 50 million miles away. And you're absolutely going to place all your faith in giving money to big corporations, a lot of times and out-of-state corporations, and your pocketbooks are going to suffer. There's a real reason. Now, if you concur with what I'm saying, then you're the disciples. There's so many people out there that don't have a clue. Many people out there think Amendment 2 is about guns. They do. They do. There was two really shrewd things that were done. First of all, I got one more comment. It's been said to me now that I've come out with this stance and said, well, we want to debate. Well, listen. For a year, Senate leadership's been running all over this state, talked to every county commission, delegates, superintendents, everybody in the world over and over and over and over and over, telling them how great every promise under the blooming sun, over and over and over, and never one time invited me or never one time, absolutely briefed me as to what they were wanting to do. Not once. Not one time. Now listen. It's up to you. And I can't lose. And you may say, well, wait a minute. Why can't he lose? Because I'm not going to be here very long. A couple more years, I'm going to be gone. The wave's going to continue for a little while at least. And then I'm going to be gone. At the end of the day, if this passes, I'll be very respectful to all of you. If it goes up in flames, I'll know without question it's the very best thing for all of you. But if it passes, I'll be respectful. And then when I run into you in Walmart, I'll look right at you and say, I told you so. Because when it's absolutely, you got your butt handed to you over and over and over, I'll say, don't blame me. Don't blame me. This will be the stake in the heart of getting rid of your personal income tax, no matter what anybody says, forever. Forever. You see, at the end of the day, my very last words, I don't want to be Ohio. I want to be Tennessee or Florida. I want to bring more and more and more goodness and opportunity, and literally, I can't find a little kid here anywhere, a young person. Well, okay.
Cool guy.
How you doing, fella? Come up here just a minute, please. Now, what's your name? Brady, you got the good-looking hair going on there, boy. Okay, thank you. What do you got there?
It's for your dog.
Well, what's the dog's name?
Babydog.
Babydog, okay. You brought her something?
Yeah.
That's really good. That's really sweet of you. She's a lot more popular than I am, isn't she?
Yeah.
Thanks. You didn't have to say that. Let me tell you, everything I'm talking about here is for Brady. We'll all be okay. Brady really needs you. That's all there is to it. Now you got to promise me this. You got to come to Charleston and give those 2 Babydog. Okay?
Make that happen.
All right, you will. All right, get out of here. Listen, thank all of you so much. God bless each and every one of you. Now, if you got any questions, we'll try to answer. If somebody's got a question, fire away. Yes, sir.
I have a couple questions about your personal income tax cut. Number one is it just a 10% cut, or are you looking to do a 100% one day in the future?
No, I wanted to do 100% one day in the future. Absolutely, without any question, though, what we got to do, we got to understand, we got to some way, somehow walk before we run, and we got to make sure the house is stable, really stable.
Now, I know you guys brought it up before, and it didn't pass, and that's because in order to make up for that money, you guys had to make up money somewhere else, in which you guys were talking about sales tax, but you guys never came up with a number. Have you guys come up with a number yet that will make up for the money lost through personal income tax as far as raising the sales tax?
You're talking about replacing some level of revenue.
Yes.
Well, let me tell you, we can't get out of the gate. I mean, it's the craziest stuff I've ever seen in my life. I beg people, for the powers to be the smart people, let's get in a room and try to figure this out. Try to figure out a way that we can really move the dial. Now, just think about this just for a second. Let's go back. Let me just stay right with it. Let's go back to our cars. Our cars are 140 million. The machinery and inventory is 500 million. That's $650 million. Now, let's just say we did the cars and we left the machinery and inventory for the time being. We don't throw it away forever, but we just leave it out in the parking lot for the time being, okay? And we keep your local control in place forevermore, all right? Leave it out in the parking lot, but remember we had $640 million to work with. You got $140 million on the automobile tax, and you get that back right off the get-go. And we take the other $500 million, and we say, we're going to cut your personal income tax by $500 million. And then we're apples to apples on the money. $640 million to $640 million. Instead of doing the property and inventory, or the machinery and inventory, we did your personal personal income tax. That $500 million cut will probably be somewhere around 22% cut to you instead of 10% on day one. You'll get your car tax, and you'll get 22% off your income tax on day one. So we won't have to do anything to get you to 22%. Hardly nothing. And then beyond that, the thing before that I was proposing and everything, and ways to raise the sales tax a little bit here and do this and replace this and change that and everything else, we could work through all that situation again. But now just stay with it and everything. I can get you to 22% doing nothing more than what we've got it on the table right now. In addition to that on the table right now, we've got car tax, machinery and inventory, and 10% on the PIT, the personal income tax. So if that be the proposal, I can get you to 32% without doing anything else at all. The one thing that is so different, and I said this a minute ago, the thing that is different from when I was working on this before is we didn't have any money. We didn't have the surpluses at that time. Today we do have the surpluses. But we got to be smart enough to mind the store and not get ourselves in a real dog's mess. But I can get you way down the trail. Now, you tell me tomorrow, if I said to you, okay, tell you what let's do. I can get you to 32% and I can get you there real fast. I don't know what income tax bracket you're in and everything, but if you're let's make it easy, you're making 50 grand or whatever it may be, and you're paying 6%, that's $3,000, and I can get you $1,000 and I'll send you back in a rebate check. I'll send you that every quarter. Every quarter, I'll send you $1,000, but not $1,000 a quarter, but $1,000 for the year, and I'll get rid of your car tax too. We can get there tomorrow without doing anything differently at all, and you keep complete control on a county level of your destiny. We won't even talk about it. It is the beatenest thing in the world. And the reason we won't talk about it is just what I've said. Swamp, 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 swamp. That's all there is to it. I mean, it's lobbyists giving money for big corporations' interest. And at the end of the day, I mean, do you really want to give Jim Justice $10 or $12 million of your money and you get nothing? I mean, for God's sakes, a living. Do you really want to do that? That's what you're doing. I'll promise you tomorrow that really in the counties of McDowell and Wyoming County, we pay those counties alone. That doesn't count. It has nothing to do with Greenbrier, nothing to do with, but we pay those counties probably about $3 million apiece a year. We don't need that money. And then those counties are going to bet that Charleston will come through. Listen, this is not good. But Chairman Householder, you got to hear from this man. If you'd like to come up or you'd like to just say something from back there, what do you want to do?
I'll just stay back here.
Okay.
But, thank you for your kind words. And ladies and gentlemen, I do believe the governor's sincere in trying to help people. I know for the last 4 years I've been trying to eliminate or put us on a path to eliminate the personal income tax. And I'm very supportive that the governor believes that this would be the path or the proper way to increase growth, because he's right. If you eliminate the PIT, you're going to create wealth, you're going to create growth. And that's what the state of West Virginia needs, because we see so many of our young citizens leaving. They're leaving for the South. They're moving to the Southwest and to the Midwest. They're voting with their feet. They're searching prosperity. And the governor's right. We need to reverse those trends, and you can do that with personal income tax. But thank you, Governor.
All right, thank you. Y'all give him a big round of applause. I'm telling you. Good man. Yes, sir.
Just apples to apples. You said you're bragging on these 9 states that do not have a personal income tax.
Right.
And they're growing like crazy. How many of those 9 states have a business inventory and equipment tax?
Can you answer that, Dan?
There's only one of them has both business inventory and equipment tax. That would be Texas. See, most of the other states do tax equipment. Exception would be South Dakota. South Dakota doesn't tax either inventory or machinery and equipment. They're one of 12 states that has no tax on machinery, equipment, and inventory. In Alaska, it's not much. There's a few of them that exempt manufacturing equipment from property taxes. Beyond, but I know that Texas is in the group with West Virginia that taxes machinery equipment.
There
As
are
well as
2
inventory.
tax bills, is what you're telling me.
So what?
Maybe us and one other.
No, he's really not telling you. He's telling you that us and one would be completely like us, but us and others that will be partially like us, from the standpoint of they're paying some form, they're either paying inventory or machinery or whatever it may be.
Well, you keep saying people are leaving the state. You just said that. They're leaving the state because jobs are not here. Now, maybe telework covers some of that, but it takes businesses to create the jobs here.
Listen, I'm a business guy, and I don't want to shut my back. No way on the planet am I going to shut my back on real business promotion, and that's what this is all about. This stage. But with all of that, just think about just this. 6 years ago, my friend, listen, this state couldn't have gotten an 8-job bottle watering plant to come here, Now, maybe in the Eastern Panhandle, but not in many, many, many other parts of the state. And today, they're coming faster than hardly we can keep up with it. And if they're coming faster than we can keep up with it, they're not even asking for that. Why in the world are we trying to do that? At the end of the day, should we not, can you imagine if we could close our eyes and open our eyes back and we had $1 billion or we had $2 billion or whatever dollars that was back in the hands of the people, then you become our own stimulus package. Then off we go. And it happens every year. Boom, 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 boom. Look, the very first go in my State of the State address, I said, make education our centerpiece, tier severance tax on coal, oil, and gas, and absolutely, let's go. Let's go with roads to prosperity, let's go. And off we went. But what did we have to do more than anything? Change our image. We had to. And you absolutely don't have that here. But all across West Virginia, we were the dark, dingy, backward state. And we were the blunt end of a lot of bad jokes. Now that's different now. It's really different. Now we've become the travel destination of the whole world. Tourism's exploding. All the diversification's happening. There's all kinds of goodness going on. All I am saying to you is just this. I am for helping business in any way. But I am first and foremost for helping the people. Yes, sir.
Governor, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you personally for coming and trying to shut Amendment 2 down. I heard about this thing over 6 months ago and thought it was the worst thing that could ever happen. I'm a business guy, multiple states, multiple business. I invest into this community every day. I have people that work for me. I help people out, just like you.
Sure.
People do not understand what people like you and I do every day. The fire companies in this county, within the next 6 months, will be eliminated. It's terrible. The county has not been funding these volunteer fire companies. It's been on the backs of the people. This thing is over. It's done. I'm fighting for them. I've taken my own money, run a campaign, been called everything but you know what. And I'm pretty much the bad guy. I got sanctions against me in 2018 against me that I can't even go in the courthouse and file any papers because the government hates me so bad. I'm a frequent flyer to the West Virginia Supreme Court and the U.S. Supreme Court. They got 2 cases pending right now. And I'm a high school graduate, a farmer, a giver, a business guy, and I appreciate you coming in and telling these people that stuff like this is just absolutely horrible. It is, I don't know how to explain how these things could even happen. So I appreciate you being here. I got a long fight to help the volunteer fire company in this county, in the state of West Virginia, in the country, because the volunteer fire companies across the United States are in trouble. And I would appreciate any help or guidance that you could give to us on that. And again, I appreciate your time being here.
Very fair. Thank you so much. Yes, sir.
My voice is a little weak. I'll try to talk about. First of all, thanks for being here as well. Since day one, as you know well, with horse racing and breeding the industry in this area of the state, you really got to get the first conversation with that. and you did some great things, you've done more things. But these, a lot of people here are involved in occupation. And the green space and the farms and everything that goes around it is about raising people in this county, and you know, and that everybody benefits, including the truth. And we appreciate so much what you've done. On behalf of the farming, I'm going to say that in a nice general way, and horse racing, is it totally accurate to believe that if everybody here votes no for this, that it will affect horse racing in a positive way? We trust you totally, so I'm pretty sure that you appreciate that.
Thank you so much. Well, I guess I've already given you my opinion, you know, in every way. And I mean, I can tell you this, that you have a very, very, very blessed community because, you know, my wife was a 1976 quarter horse queen in West Virginia. And she loved to ride, and she'd still be riding if she could, and all that kind of stuff. But you know, and then we ended up with some thoroughbreds, and we had every experience, good and bad, that you could possibly, you know, have with thoroughbreds and everything. But you have so many attributes here. It's off the chart. You know, you have growth and you have opportunities and everything, but you have beauty and cleanness and goodness and everything. Well, from the standpoint of your racing industry, it's been right on the bubble 14 different times around me, and I've done everything that I can possibly do to stand right with your racing community and try to help, and I have, and I'll continue to do exactly that. It brings beauty to your soul in so many ways, and there's so many opportunities, and it's limitless what I think could happen to the negative side. You know, if this goes through, and then you're completely solely dependent upon Charleston, and just what if they say, well, we're having trouble making things balance, and the low-hanging fruit is hammer the racing industry. I mean, for God's sakes, it can happen. And don't think for a second it can't happen. You know, yesterday I was with Gordon Gee. Well, what do you think, really and truly, now really, what do you think if things get upside down, bumps happen, and we come up short on money, what's going to happen to higher ed? Right off the get-go. Cut it. We even tried, like it or not like it, the powers to be that are causing this to happen tried to eliminate the funding to WVU a couple of years ago. Eliminate it. And look what WVU is bringing us. You know, let me just, I mean, we could go on and on forever, and it just, you know, but I've got to tell you this, because to me, you know, there's two things in history that I don't want to have happen. One is, I really, truly, and I can't do anything about one of them now, but one, I really don't want to see us miss on the opportunity to get us on a pathway at least to get rid of your personal income tax. I really don't want to see us miss on that. I think this is driving a stake in that heart. It's giving Charleston control away from you. I think all that's a real big time mistake and everything. But the other one is this, and where's that whiteboard? I'll write this right here. I want to show you something, and we did this, and it's not good. I didn't really mean to go into this, but I went into this, you know, at Martinsburg, and, you know, my family's in the coal business. I said, if you'll go back to the first day of the state, I said, we need to tier the severance tax on coal, oil, and gas. Now, you don't have any idea of what we've done. But Bob Murray, who is the head, hey, come on over here, rascal. Bob Murray, who was the head of the Coal Association for all practical purposes at that time. Bob Murray and Murray Energy was probably mining, I don't know, 30 million tons of the 60 million tons we were mining in the state, as far as steam coal. Now, and his coal was selling for $32. Okay? And he was really hurting. Really, really hurting. And he was right on the verge of bankruptcy. And he was in my office. I'd never met him before in my life. And he said, is there any way in the world, my severance tax is 5%. Is there any way in the world you could get that cut? I need a couple of rabbits really bad. That was his very terminology. Well, I said, Bob, I said, how would you feel about tiering the severance tax to say, if things are tough, we help, and if things get real lucrative, you give something back to the collection place. He said, I'm all in. I'm all in, Jim. I said, well, Bob, he said, can I, and I'll bring it back to you tomorrow. He said, can I, come up with what I think the tiering ought to be and bring it back to you tomorrow? I said, absolutely. Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. So he went away. He had this little oxygen tank on him that he wore because he had this lung problem and it was really bad and it ended up killing him. But he said, you see, my miners mean everything to me. Well, I don't know how you turn your back on that. That's really good stuff to me. So anyway, he went away, he brought it back. I've got it on his stationery. I'll be glad to share it with me or anybody at any point in time. Here was the deal. At $74 a ton, the severance tax on coal was 10%. At $32 a ton, the severance tax was like 2.25%. So in other words, when it was real cheap, you had it real low. And when it was at $74 or above, 10%. Now just stay with me just one second, because this will blow you flat away. This is the single biggest mistake that this state has ever made or will ever make in its history, hands down. Guaranteed. Today, coal, steam coal, is $200. Now, if you take this, 10% of $200 is $20 a ton that would be coming to us. Today, this is really 3%, and 3% of that is $6 a ton. That's what really comes to us. 6. The difference in the two is $14 that we're not getting. $14, these companies, and that's what I'm saying, and a lot of these companies would be receiving this machinery and inventory tax elimination, receiving big money. These companies at $200 a ton are bathing in money. Bathing in money. If they were paying another $14, they would gripe about it, but it wouldn't even matter. It would not even matter. This $14, well, let me tell you what it equals. Today, in the state of West Virginia, we're mining 80 million tons of this coal a year. That right there, that multiplication is $1.1 billion more dollars that would be coming to West Virginia every year right now. The difference, the delta, is $1.1 billion. Now, if that isn't enough for you, stay with this. That's $1.1 billion. Met coal, metallurgical coal that goes to make steel, all that's electricity. Metallurgical coal is 30 million tons. And the price of metallurgical coal not long ago was $555 a ton. Yep. Today it's $270. Metallurgical coal would almost, it would not quite, but it would almost equal, it will equal about $600 million today on the Delta. So now you're at $1.7 billion that we just threw away. And then you got gas. Now think about it. At the time we were doing all this, gas was $1. Today, gas is $6.80. And I'll bet you if we do the math, we won't miss this far. Gas would equal net and steam, coal put together. All this put together. And they are $1.7 billion. And just think about that. That was $3.4 billion more money that could be coming to West Virginia today. And we said, nope, we're not going to do it. Now what if I'm half wrong or half right? And it was $1.7 billion. I mean, just think our total revenue in the state of West Virginia is, our total budget is $4.7 billion. If I had another $1.7 billion in addition to the surpluses you're having now, for God's sakes of living, we could put candy-coated roads everywhere you wanted to. I mean, we could put Babydog, treats every 30 yards down the road. She could have Sunday chicken nuggets and she got bigger than she already is. Let me tell you, that was a big miss. A great big miss. An innocent miss in a lot of ways, but a big miss. Now, we don't want to miss on this one. It could be just about as bad. This will be the biggest miss in the history of this state. It may not last forever. This is a big miss. Why don't y'all go do something good? Yes, sir.
Governor, welcome to Jefferson County. I have the distinct privilege of serving as the prosecuting attorney here in Jefferson County.
I don't want to talk to you much.
Well, I think you're covered back there. That's your get out of jail free card back there. But also I serve as the president of the Association of Counties, and that's a member organization that represents all 444 local county officials in all 55 counties of West Virginia. And probably more for the benefit of the people in this room, there has been an official vote where every elected official in West Virginia, local county official, had the opportunity to offer their input, and it was passed that there was strong opposition to Amendment 2. And something that, for your benefit, that happened yesterday at our board meeting, there was again a board vote, and it was unanimous to support your proposal for the 10% personal income tax cut and the rebate on the vehicles.
It'll be good. It'll be a great start. Start right there and then build on it. Some way, somehow get your money back on your vehicles, and some way, start on 10% and then let's go. But gosh dog, I can't possibly get there if we go Amendment 2. You don't want to run into me in Walmart and me tell you I told you so, because I'll tell you, I'll chase you down the aisle and tell you again and again and again and again. That's the last of my last, and I mean this. I really mean it. Whether it be Chief Fletcher, whether it be all the good stuff that goes on here all the time. I don't blow smoke at anybody. I don't do it. I'm not here telling you, you got the playbook down pat and everything, and I don't really mean that. Bullfeathers. I'm here to tell you just the truth. Everything we had Brady. Everything on earth, that's what we should be doing. You see, I'm a coach. And I'm in the dressing rooms and the schools all the time and everything. I'm really proud to do that. I think that we should challenge all of our elected officials to try to give back and be with children more. Honestly, people make me feel so young. It's unbelievable. And for me, that's a real challenge. But literally, that's what this is all about. And if you screw up, you just mess it up and everything, then deal with me on aisle 4. All right, thank y'all so much. Yes, sir. Wait, I'm sorry.
Governor, thank you for coming. I'm Keith Lowery, the Executive Director of Jefferson County Community Ministries.
Right.
I came down to your office about a month ago, spoke with Berkeley Bentley about a homeless shelter we're trying to put in Jefferson County.
Sure.
Using the ARPA funds, and I just didn't want to take your time, but want to let you aware that we're doing that, and I'd love to be able to talk to your staff about that.
That's really good. Really good. I have to just throw this little tidbit in there. Think just a second about Babydog. Think about me carrying her around with me and all that. Think about my children, Jay and Jill, giving her to us as a puppy. Now it'll be 3 years ago this December. In just a couple days, she's going to be 3 years old. But when they gave her to us, you know, she was just a little rascal. And our grandson was just a little teeny fella, 2 years old, just turned 2. And he would walk around everywhere and he would say, "Where'd that Babydog go?" Well, so we named her Babydog. And then I've said it over and over, she grew into a 60-pound brown watermelon. And she did. And she loves chicken nuggets like I do. But to tie right back to you, sir, here's the thing. Over and over and over, I'm going up and down the road, I'm dealing with this unbelievable pandemic, and it's the sadness is off the chart, and it affected every last one of us. And over and over, you're reading names for all practical purposes of all the folks that we're losing, and you know how bad the families and the loved ones are really hurting and all that. It's been really tough for those families, and surely tough from my standpoint too. And then I keep looking at Babydog, and she at least makes me smile. And then every time I saw her with you, she made you smile. And then the thing that is really amazing is it didn't matter if it was kids or adults or black, white, rich, poor, Democrats, Republicans, it didn't matter who you were, she loved everybody. Everybody. At the end of the day, it just hit me like so many things have that I think are messages from God above. You know, and basically saying, isn't that what it's supposed to be? That's the end of the story. If we could make others smile and we loved everybody, why do we have to need anything else? It all will fall in place if we do this thing. Congratulations on what you're doing. Thank you so much. God's work. Thank you so much. Y'all get it. Be good. Thank you.